What's going on, everybody? This is Mike, and this is Serial at Night, episode number 61 on RetroGameFix.com. And I don't remember to do this enough. Shout out to Mitch and his incredible band, Bohemian Grove, that put together this awesome song that we intro with. And he's got he's gonna have an album coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Boy, what do we got to talk about today? Quite a few things I want to get off my chest. I want to talk some Star Wars. I want to talk some Stadia. It's been a while. I was tweeting about it a while back when it first launched. I was a founder. It's a good thing I've been a founder for these first few weeks. And then discuss a little bit of the Game Awards, and we'll see where those conversations take us. Also, I'll probably touch on a couple things that I've been playing. Actually, let's start there. So, some news in my world. So, I want to talk about my computer. So, my build is pretty good. Really good, it should be. So I have a 2080 Ti, an 8700K, and I intentionally did that just because when the 9000 series processors came out for Intel, they were pretty expensive and the value just wasn't there. So I kept that processor, just waiting to see if they released a 10 nanometer version of the build or of the Intel chip. And then I had a Thermaltake View 71 case where I could mount my GPU vertical, and then 64 gigs of RAM, just an AIO on the CPU. Pretty nice build overall. Titanium, platinum power supply through EVGA. Some good stuff. So anyway, I built that PC early this year. And I had gotten that MSI Gaming X Trio 2080 Ti, and I'd actually had the Founders Edition too. And I sold the Founders Edition, and I wish I would have kept it because I could have just did closed loop cooling on it and got a cheap water block. But I assumed that the MSI would also get affordable water blocks, and it just didn't. So it has 3 fans on it, and the front fan and the other 2 larger fans. Sorry, if there's a break there, it's because I was actually just interrupted by FedEx dropping off something, which I'll get to in a moment. So, with the vertical mounted GPU, it was really close to the front glass of the case. And I know that's not optimal for cooling, but I figured, hey, it looks cool, so I'm going to fucking do it. And I overclocked it and some other things, and I noticed out of the gate, some weird shit would go on with the fans, where a lot of times they were just always on 100%. They should never have did that, but I kind of assumed it was maybe getting choked from where it was located in the case, and then my pretty aggressive overclocks. So a buddy picked up the same card, had 0 of the same problems that I had, so he threw the card in my rig. Still didn't have any of the problems. We overclocked it, a pile of other things. Card was quiet as can be. And so I started Googling it, and apparently it was an early problem with some of these early 2080 Ti's through MSI. And I thought, well, here we go. This is going to be a pain in the ass. MSI is often rated pretty low in customer satisfaction, customer service. Their products are great, but from a service standpoint, I've read bad things. That said, I've had a pretty good experience with them. I had a 980 Ti, or maybe it was a 1080, one of them that I bought, and it wasn't overclocking like I thought it should. And I'd called them and said, hey, can I RMA this? It's not overclocking. And they said, sure, send it in. We're only going to do this for you once. If the next one doesn't overclock to your liking, we're not going to swap it out again. But anyway, they sent me one and it overclocked much better. So when this happened in my 2080 Ti, I was like, okay, let's see how the customer service is. And I'd filled out the online form, explained what was going on. And then I got antsy, so I called him. Guy was like, yeah, that's not it. You know, that's not an issue. Send it in and we'll take care of it. And it was said that it could be anywhere from a 2-week to a 4-week turnaround time on GPUs. And so I sent it in, and it was during Thanksgiving week. And so it took like a week to get there just because of time off and probably other shipping delays. And they got it on Monday, and they had turned it around and shipped it back out to me on Monday. Well, anyway, the card just got back to me today in the middle of me recording this podcast, and I'm hoping that it is actually fixed. I have not had the chance to. I just went up to grab the box. I haven't had the chance to see if the serial number is still the same. Maybe they just drop a sticker on it. I don't know. But I'm hoping that that takes care of it, because for the last 9 months or so, well, longer than that, the last 13 months. I think the card came out in November. I've been dealing with this problem that I just kind of attributed to, my case and then some aggressive overclock. So hopefully that's fixed. Other thing, I played through Luigi's Mansion 3. I really liked it. I'm not going to use the words charming or adorable or any of that crap. Yes, it looks nice. It's a very nice looking game. But man, that game is really fun. The controls weren't great, and there was one spot where I thought, I'm going to just turn this off because I get really frustrated by some of the controls, but I kept with it. And the gameplay can be a little repetitive, but the good news is that the each level or each floor from this mansion that you're in, or in this case, a hotel, they're varied so much that it stays engaging throughout the entire game. There was some Metroidvania aspects that I wasn't a real big fan of, like, okay, I got to go back through and run through this floor again to get something, or I just wanted to keep going to see the new stuff. So anytime I had to pivot back to go through a floor I've already been on, I didn't enjoy that. But overall, Luigi's Mansion is a fantastic game, and it's the only game I've played through on Switch in a long time. I did pick up Astral Chain. That didn't do it for me. And my complaints about the Switch have been well documented. I think it's a fine system. Nothing has really caught me through the last 3 years that it's been out, really. So Luigi's Mansion, pick it up. The puzzles are fun. It doesn't take a ton of time to solve puzzles on each floor. So it's a good enough game to just kind of sit back and chill and play through it and have a good time. The other good news is it was a game that I could play while my daughter was up and she liked to watch it. Obviously, I'm not going to sit there and start playing Call of Duty and slicing people's throats and shit. So she had fun watching that as well. So that's what I've been playing. And then, like I said, I wanted to start playing a few more games, and then my graphics card went out. And so, I want to get finished up with Call of Duty. And then, I had some other game that I had just, started on PC, and I'm mind blanking on it. So, Star Wars Fallen Order. I haven't beat that yet anyway. And that is a good jump off. So Star Wars Fallen Order has kind of opened up with really good reviews and has been recepted really well. Everybody I know that's played it has really liked it. And it's a good combination of platforming, and the combat system is great. A nice blend of, there's a little hack and slash in it with some defensive combat. I mean, it's a ton of fun. But my controversy, and I'm trying to not make up controversy here, but I have to, because this is stuff you can't make up. So Amy Hennig from the Uncharted series, I think she wrote or directed or produced something, the first 3. she moved over to work on a Star Wars game, I think for technically EA. And at some point along the lines, EA ended up canceling the game. And then EA said, we're going to pivot the design to be more of an open world game. I'm paraphrasing here. And gamers melted down. You're taking away our single player games. You just want to create this open world thing. You want to monetize it. On and on and on. And they said, nope, you know what? We're still going to work on a single player Star Wars. So a single player Star Wars comes out. It's fantastic. Then The Mandalorian comes out and people start going, hey, this, you know, it would be awesome. An open world Star Wars game. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me. And I've heard this on multiple podcasts now. This has been Game Informer wrote a whole fucking article on it. But I've heard it on multiple podcasts because, again, the big box store podcasts are fucking groupthink central. And everyone's like, what about an open world Star Wars game? When literally just 11 months ago, your sites were podcasting about how stupid an open world Star Wars game would be. You can't fucking make it up. Like, this is the kind of shit. It shouldn't even bother me. And I know people get tired of listening to it, and I'm trying to not beat that drum, but like, this is why companies just shouldn't listen to fucking gamers. It's getting out of hand. Like, you can't win. You can't win with gamers these days. So anyway, I wanted to get that off my chest. So I want to talk some Stadia, but here's what I'm going to do since I'm chomping at the bit to get this graphics card back in. I'm going to take a quick break and put my graphics card in and test that quick, and then I will be back to finish this episode. Okay, and I'm back. And that's the kind of production value you expect here on Serial at Night on RetroGameFix.com. Quick note, I was gone for more than just a couple hours. So in between, when I took that break and my graphics card arrived, I actually installed my graphics card, made sure it worked, and it does. And then I went and ran some errands. Decided to drop my daughter off at the grandparents. My wife and I went and got dinner. And then went to bed, and then I woke up and I ran to Home Depot to get some light switches, and I installed those. So yeah, it's been a beneficial day. I also played some more Stadia, so I have some more thoughts there, and then I want to also talk about the Game Awards a little bit, and Microsoft's 5 cent a day deal for Game Pass. So let's start there, actually. So Game Pass has been a very popular conversation, really since they've been basically giving it away for free everywhere, from Taco Bell to, from Taco Bell to online promotions. It seems impossible to get away from actually subscribing to Game Pass, whether you want to or not, just because it's free. And so that rewind to yesterday, I guess, and there was a quote unquote glitch. I don't think it was a glitch. I think it was on purpose, where you could either register for a 3-month Game Pass subscription, and then you could change your billing cycle to daily for 5 cents a day, or you could basically retroactively, like, I have Game Pass paid for it's like $1 a month for me until the middle of next year. And that's when my Game Pass will change to 5 cents a day. And one of the talkers is, how is Microsoft going to make money on Game Pass? Because it seems insane right now. And you look and go, obviously right now, they're probably not making a ton of money on Game Pass as a product. But I think their play is much longer term than that, right? If we're looking at, and it's been impossible for me to find the numbers. The most recent numbers I have were dating back to like mid last year. So I'm going to speak in a little bit arbitrary here, but it's the main, hypothesis on how they'll make money long term is stays intact, right? So looking at Netflix, I checked Netflix numbers, and Netflix has 60 million subscribers. My thought here is, I bet you, so there's 60 million Netflix subscribers, and I think roughly, 40 million Xbox One sold, something like that. And as far as how many people have signed up for Game Pass, I wish I had those numbers, but it's hard to talk without knowing how many people have actually subscribed. But let's even just say it's 10 million people, 5 million, 10 million people. When you look at the numbers Microsoft is probably really trying to get to, Game Pass has been really kind of a thing for a year now. And so when you look at, if they have a target of 60 million, because I'm sure that 5 cents a day, they can change our rate at some point. I'm sure they aren't going to fuck everybody immediately, but, I'm sure they can change the rate. They can change the rates anytime they want. I mean, Netflix does it all the time. It's just trying to figure out what attrition number you can deal with, because anytime you change a price point, you're going to have attrition and customers leaving your service, right? And so it's a balance of seeing how much more revenue will you make by raising the price, or how much more profit will you make by raising the price, and will it offset the attrition that you will most likely have? And I think Microsoft is willing to bet on their service and say, let's get I'm just going to say 5 million right now. I don't know what it's actually probably even less, because PlayStation Now is at 700,000 subscribers, but being that Microsoft's put it in front of everybody, let's even just say 2 million subscribers right now. I don't know what it is, but hypothetically, if Microsoft wants to get to a 60 million number, like a Netflix, and you might be thinking, oh my God, Netflix is one of the biggest services out right now. How could Microsoft ever get there? Well, here's how, right? Netflix is on everything. It's on your TV, it's on your phone, it's on your Xbox, right? It's all over the place. It's on your computer. 60 million subscribers. Here's where I think Microsoft is going to end up having an edge in a way. Regardless of Netflix also being everywhere, games cost more than movies. And the perceived value of getting games for quote unquote free, I think, has a perceived higher value than getting something like movies for free, where renting a movie, you can rent a movie through Amazon or somewhere else for like $3.99. So I think there's a benefit there. And you look at the fact that there's something like, maybe it's hit 1 billion right now. The last number I found was 800 million. It's like 800 million Windows 10 installs. You've got TVs you could get an Xbox app on. You've got the phones. You've got xCloud betas rolling out to phones, or previews, right? And it works. It actually works. Where you're subscribing to this ecosystem of being able to buy your games once and play them everywhere, or not even buy them and get them for free through the service. Either way. And in the long run, I think Microsoft's willing to bet on giving away a couple million free subscriptions, which they can probably change at any time, plus the subscriptions are going to fall off, with the anticipation that these subscribers will eventually convert to paid customers, and that they're going to like the service so much that they'll continue to tell their friends that they need to sign up. Hey, here's a deal. Once that word of mouth starts going around and everybody signed up for Game Pass for free, all of a sudden you start to turn into that Netflix where you start to charge again. People's free programs start to fall off. The 5 cents a day certainly is not going to last in perpetuity. I mean, I highly doubt that, right? But it's a nice thing to have now. And you go, because this isn't a 2-year deal. This isn't a short-term product right now. This is a long play, and that's where Microsoft has this huge benefit. They can still sell people games. They can still put a system out, the console out. They can still get PC revenue. Xbox, they can, Microsoft and the Xbox brand is everywhere at this point. And you combine that with a potential base. Obviously, not all 800 million Windows 10 PCs are going to be people that want to play, hardcore games on, but it might be a pretty big percentage if they can do it for free. If all of a sudden, hey, you bought this Windows 10 system, do you want to subscribe to Game Pass monthly for $14 or $10 for some options? Some people might say, yeah. And all of a sudden, Microsoft is looking to not only hit that 60 million subscriber mark, but just to run away with it. 100 million, 150 million. And at that point, who's to say that Microsoft wants to be in the center of your living room? They still do. I guarantee that has not changed. They want to be at the center of your living room, and they're going to be able to get there through Xbox Game Pass as a Trojan horse. Who's to say they can't start adding movies and TV and all of these things later? I mean, book it. I guarantee you're going to see that. So in the right now, no, they're probably not making any money. But 5-10 years down the road, don't be surprised if there's a huge percentage of people that are subscribed to the Microsoft service, not only for games, but for movies, TV, and other things. I would not be surprised to see any of that happen in the long run. And then they say, oh, how are they going to start making money? Eventually, they're going to start charging people for it, and they're going to budget for the attrition of people that don't subscribe to be offset by the people that actually decide to pay for the service. So anyway, moving on, Stadia. So Stadia's been out for a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks now, since November 19th, basically, so 20 days. And it got destroyed when it came out, and rightfully so in a lot of ways. But I don't hate it like everyone else seems to hate it. I don't think it's a great service by any stretch right now. So I'm going to do the good, the bad, the ugly, and maybe the unacceptable. And I think the only place to start is with the good, because there is some good. So let's start there. The service works. The streaming works. So I'm glad I didn't podcast about this a couple weeks ago and was able to wait until the other free games came out on the service. So when you first get Stadia, you throw the Chromecast in your TV, and you set it up through the Google Home app. And one of the big drawbacks that people talk about is I don't like the Chromecast in general because I don't like the thought of basically running applications through my phone to Chromecast, right? Like if you use Hulu, you're changing the programming on your phone and then you're casting it to the Chromecast. Stadia doesn't quite work like that, though. So while I see the frustration from I don't like Chromecast, great. I don't actually like it either, but I don't like Chromecast because I don't like Chromecast because I have to stream it from my phone, so then I automatically don't like Stadia. I don't think that argument works here because technically you're not doing a ton of things on your phone anymore. I mean, yes, you want to browse the store and buy games. You could do that on your phone, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, I boot it up and basically plug it in, and it says, what do you want to set up, right? So you turn on the controller, and it finds the thing, and then it asks, do you want to set up Stadia? Yes, I want to set up Stadia. And it basically runs just through a quick update, and you're pretty much good to go. And then it asks you to install the Stadia app on your phone. You install the Stadia app on your phone. You turn on the controller, the Stadia app then does an update to the controller, and after that, you're good to go. Stadia is now on your TV. I mean, it probably took, mine's network cable. I have a Cat 6 running to it. So, and I didn't even have a switch hooked up. So I have my network cable, basically, my whole house is wired for Cat 6. But into my office, I just have the Cat 6 coming out of the wall and going straight into my PC. So I had to go buy a switch or a networking hub, I'll call it. And so I found that. It's in a drawer, so it's right by me. But I grabbed that, plugged that in, ran the wire to the outlet. So basically the Stadia AC adapter has a network port in it. And so just run a network cable to that AC adapter, plug it in, run that to the Chromecast Ultra, and I was all wired in. So I mean, literally probably from plugging in, installing the Switch, and getting to play a game, it was probably 10 to 15 minutes. It couldn't have been quicker. Like, and I want to be clear on that, because when you think about how long it takes to set up a new console, if you come home with an Xbox, it takes a while. Like, if you come home with an Xbox, that motherfucker is going to be running updates for a couple hours, most likely. Same with PlayStation. So for everybody complaining about the setup and not liking Chromecast, I think you're off base a little bit here. I mean, I was up and running in 15 minutes for a brand new platform, right? So I thought that was good. I was very impressed with that. So then to the controller, I think the controller is actually fantastic. I would actually, so the Xbox One controller is still my preferred controller. But I'd put it on par with the PlayStation 4 controller from a comfort and usability standpoint. I mean, it's basically the same damn controller if you look at it. So, I mean, even from an ergonomic standpoint, it feels pretty close. So, controller's fine. So now to the gaming. The gaming works. Streaming works. That's fantastic. I was pleasantly surprised, especially, so I went and claimed, I didn't play Farm Simulator, but I did grab Tomb Raider, started playing it, works great. So you're sitting here, and this is the vision. This is the vision I'm bought into, right? I can essentially have a Chromecast, and there's caveats here, but the overall vision, and we'll get to the caveats, but the overall vision, I can have a Chromecast that I can bring anywhere, as long as internet's available. And I haven't tried it wireless, so there's another little test I'll need to do. But I can bring it anywhere, plug it into any TV, sign in, and as long as I have my controller, I can play video games. That's incredible to me. And I still think Microsoft's going to end up doing it better. So don't but Microsoft. I could go on about why I like xCloud and the Xbox is offering better and why I think they're going to be in a better position. But I don't want to do a comparison show right now. From what Stadia is offering from that standpoint, it actually works, and it works well. I can come down to my office, I can hold the Stadia button for a few seconds, it then turns the controller on, I do a little thing on my gamepad just to connect the controller. Basically, there's when you boot up the Chromecast in the upper right, there's basically a button sequence you press, and it launches Stadia, and I'm in. There's my games, and basically, I haven't bought any right now. So right now, it's Tomb Raider, Farming Simulator, Samurai Showdown, and Destiny. Great, it works. So this overall hate for the service, I'm not finding it. I didn't have the lag problems. My games play good. Even Destiny. Now I'll say, of the 4 games, I thought Samurai Showdown was going to be the one where I noticed the lag. I didn't actually notice the lag in that one. I noticed the lag in Destiny a little bit. Not that it was unplayable, but certainly from a first-person shooter standpoint, that's going to be where it gets difficult. But even that, if you're a person that doesn't want to spend the $500 on a system, or 400, 300, 200 that they are now at the very end of the life cycle, this is an option where you're probably not the type of person that's going to maybe even notice that leg, right? So, good. I liked that part of it. All right, now to the bad. So, the bad is, I think calling this a Founders Edition. So it was worth the money. It was $120, I think, for the Founders Edition. Getting the Chromecast Ultra and the controller, totally worth it. But it's basically an alpha, maybe a beta at this point. Like, you can tell it was rushed out the door with a lot of features missing. There's just a lot of features missing. And they weren't very clear on that. When they pitched it, it was, you're going to get all this, and it's launching, getting in the Founders Pack, and it was basically implied that you're going to get into the Founders Pack, you're going to be a pro, you're getting into the pro program for free for 3 months, and you're basically going to be a brand ambassador, and you're going to lead the charge, and you're going to get all these features, and man, it's going to be so good, you're going to want to tell people. Unfortunately, that's not what it is. You get everything I told you from a streaming standpoint, and that works. But the all of the social and interactive features that they were talking about, all of the power that you were going to get with the program, none of that really seemed to come to fruition. The games play, the games work. Now, I'm not even going to harp on the fact that it's not a service. Everyone's like, well, it's not, it should be a service. But it's not, and we knew it wasn't going to be. I don't have a problem with them saying, hey, we're going to charge money for these games. The problem is they're even more expensive than on like some, like, they're just not in line with what you'd expect to pay elsewhere. But whatever. So it's kind of half-baked in that regard. The store isn't perfect when doing it on your phone. I mean, there's just a few, like, a lot of things that just don't tie together correctly. And actually, I was going to do the good, the bad, the ugly, and the unacceptable. I'm just going to throw everything in, the bad, the ugly, and the unacceptable, all into one here. The other piece was, and this, I think this is the most frustrating part, is I knew there was going to be some level of artifacts in streaming. Artifacting, I don't have a problem with because it kind of just comes with the territory here and there. But when you pitch how powerful your platform actually is really going to be, you can have the most powerful platform in the world, but if the developers don't have a reason to develop or spend the time to, take advantage of that power, you're not going to see it. And that was one of the most jarring things, was streaming, the data streaming to me it's whatever's rendering on the cloud services, they're just sending a video stream to me. So whatever they're rendering on their end, whether it's native 4K or not, they're all up-resing it to the same stream. And so it's not like it takes this abnormal amount of more bandwidth for me to obtain a native 4K stream if they're rendering it native. Because basically, so let me circle back. Here's what they're doing. The games were jarringly bad looking in comparison to even some of their console counterparts. Tomb Raider, totally noticed it. I was like, this does not look very good. This doesn't even look as good as like the pro models of, and in some instances, the base models of the current consoles. And for a platform that's supposed to be able to trump or be close to high-end PCs right now, or even be better than, I expected them to, at least with these early games, to be rendering those games on the cloud in ultra settings. Because rendering, the bandwidth that it would take to pass me the video feed of them rendering it in ultra versus them rendering it into medium or medium low, it's no different. They're just sending me the video feed of whatever they're rendering on their end. And so that was super disappointing. Destiny didn't look good. Tomb Raider didn't look good. Samurai Showdown looked good, but that didn't take, that's, it doesn't take much there. Right? So I did not, that was the frustrating part, was looking at it and going, man, if this rendered better, I could get over some of the artifacts, but they're just not rendering it on their end in native 4K. And like, for me, that's a huge thing. And Destiny and everybody's come out. I think Digital Foundry did something to say, yeah, it's not rendering 4K. It's rendering at like 1080p and they're upscaling it to 4K or something like that. Like for me, that's totally unacceptable when your pitch is how much more powerful this service really is. And in fairness, I guess in fairness to Google though, they're just a platform, and so developers can choose to do whatever they want with it. I mean, for the longest time, we saw Xbox One games on the base console looking shittier than the PS4 counterparts. You know, the developers have a finite amount of resources and need to figure out where they want to spend time. And unfortunately, I don't think Stadia is probably the place right now. So be it. You know, so I think like the vision is there, and I can certainly see where there would be the value. And if I was going to be traveling a lot, and this is all, again, let's just pretend xCloud isn't a thing right now, because it kind of isn't. I'd probably buy a couple games on it to say, yeah, I can throw this in my bag, you know, and go anywhere and have my games with me. And that's a great option, and it works. But overall, the service just seems so half-baked. The way that the games are rendered in the cloud seems even I can even understand not wanting to go full in, but it seems to be an unacceptable level of graphic fidelity being rendered. You know, I'm not even concerned about the bandwidth. I know that people are concerned about that. Like, look, if you have bandwidth caps and this service isn't for you, there's plenty of other places to play games. But for somebody that doesn't have bandwidth caps and, you know, just got 5G on my phone and has all these other things, like once they get Stadia app onto the phone working like that, like I can get down with what it's trying to do. It's just not doing it good enough for me to want to use it. And even if I traveled, I'd go, I'm not bringing it with me right now. Because that's the other part. Like, of course, I have a monster PC. Why would I use Stadia? Well, I wouldn't at home, most likely. But I'm hypothetically saying I do need to travel for work now and then. But there's still not enough there for me to justify actually buying a game on it, even as somebody who's going to need to travel. And so I think that's where maybe some of the problem is. So, but here's the thing, and I want to say this, I'm not as down on it as most people are. Like, I don't think it's a flaming pile of shit. I know I've made fun of it on Twitter a little bit, but I don't think it's a flaming pile of shit. I think it works. I think it does what it set out to do for the most part from like the tech standpoint. Like, that works. Getting it up and running is way faster than getting a console up and running. So yeah, I mean, from there, I'd say I'd call it a success for the most part. I would say that the launch though was a complete clusterfuck. So So moving on, I want to talk also about the Game Awards a little bit. I'm not going to harp on this too much because I know I'm always like, fuck gamers, blah, 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 blah. Here's what I'm saying. So with the Game Awards, and this is why it bothers me so much, the gaming community and gamers want to, and I'll say we, because I'm in here, we want to be taken more seriously as a community. We want to be taken more seriously as a medium. We want to be taken more seriously as consumers. And a lot of us, you look at gamers, and a lot of us are adults and successful adults, right? And I'm not talking about the big box store podcasts. Those ones can eat ass as far as I'm concerned. Because those are people, they're paid to do games, all this other stuff, and good for them. I mean, I'm not shouting that down. I'm just saying, like, it's a different perspective. But, like, look, you look at CC Games or Game Trade Greg, and you have two business owners, right? You look at Video Game Outsiders. You've got, different opinions coming from people that do shit. They're not getting paid to cover games, right? Awesome podcasts. Way better than anything you find on the big box store sites. P1 podcast, incredible, right? Talking games as adults, have jobs, got shit to do, have kids, right? But on the flip side of that, you've got the Game Awards coming in here, selling everything, basically leaning into every stereotype that the gaming community, at least gamers like myself, I'll only speak for myself, wish didn't exist. I just wish those stereotypes did not exist, right? The need to get your G Fuel, need your caffeine, get your Doritos, fucking advertise. These gamer fucks will buy anything. Right? Because we won't. That's not the case. I'm not out there drinking G Fuel and pounding piles of Doritos and chasing it down. Look, I love me some Fritos jalapeno dip. It's incredible. But like that's not like that doesn't define me. Like there's this gamer culture of like buying the t-shirts, buying the tchotchkes, buying the swag, you know, buying the caffeine, the RGB, the this and that, just gamer, man. We love games. And the we love games part can certainly stay. But the Game Awards go so hard into leaning into this stereotype and this gamer culture that we've been trying to get away from for so long. And to see everybody well, I wouldn't say everybody, but like the gaming community in general just embrace it. And then you have Jeff Keighley funding it. He's in games. He's putting his own face on the fucking, he's being the face of it. Like, I would take it much more serious if they just hired another fucking host and it was like, hey, I'm going to fund this thing. I'm going to coordinate it, but we're going to take it a little more serious. Put a different face in front of it, but it's like the Keighley show. And I just can't get over just like, it's the Keighley show. We're going to exploit gamers through advertising and money and all of the stereotypes that everybody hates. I don't understand it, and it's not for me. And I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to react to it. I think it represents everything that's bad about games, gamers, the community. I think it's all of the worst shitty parts of gaming, and they're trying to use it and leverage it to highlight it in a way to fund a fucking show that doesn't even represent the opinions of most people playing the fucking games. And it drives me nuts. So no, I won't be watching. I don't even know why I'm still talking about it. But anyway. So that's it. So anyway, that's all I've got for today. That's Serial at Night, episode number 61. Thank you for listening, and until next time, whenever that might be. See ya.